The Spot Track Podcast, talking sports contracts, the salary cap, and business of sports.
Now, welcome to the SpotTrack.com podcast. I'm Kevin Sylvester, along with Mike Giannetti, the founder of SpotTrack.com. Paul is not with us. He's on a basketball trip. UB Bulls.
Yeah, big week.
Your alma mater.
Big week.
Just doing a fantastic. Why do they play the same time, the men and women? That is poor planning, NCAA.
Well, I think there's been some bad planning with the NCAA women's situation. Have you seen this?
No.
Did you not hear the story?
No. Well, hold
in there.
Hold the story for a second, because we want to mention that this podcast, a Spot Track podcast, is presented by Morgan Stanley Global Sports and Entertainment, empowering professional athletes and entertainers with the knowledge they need to make informed decisions about their finances and wealth. Stuff we talk about all the time on this podcast. Learn more by visiting morganstanley.com/GSE. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, LLC, member SIPC. By the way, shout out to Mandel Crawley. I got to meet him last year at the Players' Championship. He's there again this year. I work for PGA Tour Radio, and great to see Mandel again. Great guy, and they support that event tremendously. So, you were saying.
While you were at that event.
While I was at that event, yes.
The women's bracket was leaked like 6 hours early by an ESPN.
Was it Adnan Virk?
Jeez. No.
Well, come on, it's known he was leaking stuff,
they were
right?
Doing they were doing like a demo run and accidentally published, and it just got out.
Okay.
And you had all these watch parties, right? All these these colleges at 7 p.m. had all these parties all over the country, and the brackets were released at like 3 p.m. So they had to cancel everything. and UConn's a 2 seed. So it was prime TV. It was going to be, they had the big gotcha moment, right?
Right.
And it got to Twitter at 3 p.m.
Oh, that sucks.
So, yeah, they've had a bad week.
Yeah. Well, all right. Anyhow, UB, we wish the Bulls luck here in our hometown of Buffalo. Paul, who's normally with us, is with them, and boy, he's going to miss out on such great conversation. Robert Raiola is going to join us in a little bit, the sporch tax man. Looking forward to talking.
I
always love talking to
baseball
him.
Contract.
Yes.
Woo.
I want to find out how much money in taxes Mike Trout's going to be paying. We will talk about that in a minute, okay? But NFL free agency.
Obligatory NFL part, right?
Oh, my gosh, though. It's been the first couple days were great, but we've had some big contracts that have been signed. And let's start with the Jets.
Yeah.
Right?
So we really want to take this sort of like, instead of going number by number and going through the whole list and which team spent what, you can all see that on the website, right? That's all there.
Yeah, that's why you go to SpotTrack.com.
We track all that stuff. So I just
by the way, listen to this podcast for the proper pronunciation. I heard an interview with Mike on a radio. They called SpotTrack. No, it's SpotTrack.com.
I've heard it all. We'll take it all. Sport Track.
Yeah, as long as you go there.
That's right.
Okay.
SPOTRAC. So I just wanted to sort of give out some awards, really. Free agency awards.
Oh.
All right. Keep it easy. Keep it
what
short.
You're going to start here? It's going to become the first annual award show.
I like it. Let's do it.
We'll televise it next year on YouTube.
All right.
Contracts of the year.
Best
agent.
Player friend. No, we're not going there. Player friendly awards, team friendly awards, and then best of both worlds. That's how we're going to break this up.
Okay. How about player friendly award?
Yeah, you mentioned the Jets. Holy cow, CJ Mosley. All right. I mean, we had that couple hours there where Quan Alexander went to San Francisco and got this huge $54 million contract that's actually only $19 million. But, I mean, coming off of two, massive leg injuries.
And when you say actually, people need to know that is actual cash.
So
the guaranteed
structure, right. Where is the guaranteed money actually in the deal to start the deal? That's what matters to us the most. Everything else is what we call fluff, right? You've heard that a million times on this show. So we've done all that work. If you go to the website, all these contracts have potential outlines right in the middle of their contract that shows essentially where the fluff starts, right? Where the guarantees stop and the fluff starts. That's a really good place to look if you're looking to see the actual value of an NFL contract right now.
For anybody who's ever worked in broadcasting, has had a broadcasting contract, I'll just say ratings bonus, and they'll understand the fluff. All right, anyhow.
CJ Mosley, all right. Inside linebackers were being devalued. They were starting to become running backs, right? You could plug in three guys. They had they had different roles. They were being categorized, and the money was dropping. Nobody had surpassed Luke Kuechly in years. I mean, he was the top dog for years. CJ Mosley's now being paid like a third-tier quarterback. I mean, $51 million guaranteed over 3 years, $43 million guaranteed right now. He's going to get 3 for 51 out of this deal. He's going to be the captain of the Jets defense. I mean, I get it. He's a solid player. There's got to be a reason the Ravens didn't pay him, though, right? I mean, the Ravens pay linebackers.
Yeah, I was surprised. Well, you mentioned the players. I work with a guy who's a big Ravens fan.
Yeah.
Is from Maryland and is just dumbfounded.
They
and
gutted that defense.
Yeah, really upset about Mosley going.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a reason.
Well,
you don't let a guy like, if he's this important, right? If he's as important as $85 million over 5 years and to become the instant captain of the Jets, that there had to be a reason he's not the captain of the Ravens anymore, in my opinion. Right?
There's got to be a reason. Yeah, I agree.
Something's got to be.
He's a fantastic player.
He is.
To lose. I think it's fair to say he was the heart and soul of that defense, right? To lose that, and the identity of the Ravens has always
Eric
been
Weddle. I mean, they had
right.
their veterans are gone.
Yeah,
they brought one in. We'll get to it, but that's to me, that's the only red flag with this contract. Financially, it's phenomenal for Mosley. Like I said, he's going to get 51 over 3. The guarantees are all there. He's the only player to date, the only player in 2019 free agency to get guaranteed salary in the third year. No quarterback. No wide receiver, nobody, not Le'Veon Bell. The inside linebacker
gets guaranteed
has
money.
Guaranteed money in the third year of his contract right now, $8 million. Half of it is fully guaranteed. So that's how strong of a deal the C.J. Mosley contract is.
So you said that 43 is guaranteed up front.
Yeah, that's
right.
That's 19. That's 20. That's the bonus, and that's $8 million of 21.
Wow,
it's a good deal.
It's a great deal for him for sure.
Yeah, it's a good deal. And then we got to bring this guy in. It's not free agency essentially, but it is, right? I mean, he made himself available, right? Antonio Brown.
Right.
Via Instagram, via however you want to say it, via throwing his quarterback under the bus, all those things.
On social media, he was traded to 2 teams twice.
He
right?
was,
and then,
depending on when you woke up.
Right, and then ended up with the Raiders.
He did, and he got a good contract out of it. He really did. He started off with 3 years, $38 million, none of it guaranteed. That's what the Steelers had left with them. All right, they weren't going to touch that. They don't negotiate contracts until it's at least 2 years left, mostly 1 year left. So they weren't touching his money.
I want to be in fairness to Antonio Brown, saying that 3 years, $50 million, none of it guaranteed. In today's environment, you have to have guaranteed money if you're a player. So I see Antonio Brown's beef here, right?
That's why I brought it up. That's why we're here, and that's why he's winning one of these awards, because he understood, his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, understood that they get it, right? Like, here's the problem I have with it. He signed the 6-year contract. You know the Steelers don't guarantee base salaries, so the only guaranteed money is going to be the roster bonus and the signing bonus.
But that was 2 years ago.
So when that's gone, you know what you're getting. Why would you sign with the Steelers? You know? Or why would you sign a 6-year deal with the Steelers? You want to sign a 3 with the Steelers? That makes sense, because then you're playing maybe 1 year without guarantees. Right? Or not. But that's what's got to change. And I've been saying this on the show for a year now. That's what's got to change. No more 6-year deals for anybody, right? 3-year deals, 4-year deals at the most, 2-year deals with strong guarantees. But that's what he's done here. That's what Antonio Brown has done with the Raiders. He's 31 years old, so he's not going to go out there and he's not going to get, Beckham Jr. money. He's not going to break the bank that way, even though his agent and a lot of these media sources will try to tell you this is a $20 million per year deal because they're adding these 3 years to the previous 3 years and making that math work. I'm not doing that. It's 3 years, $50 million, $30 million of it fully guaranteed right now. He gets 2 years fully guaranteed. That's all he wanted. That's all he wanted.
Sure.
He gets 2 years fully guaranteed. So it's a great deal for him. It's a great deal at his age. He gets a change of scenery. It's good. It's just a good deal.
So a way to look at it is he's a 2-year contract, $30 million guaranteed. There's a bonus year
of $17.5 million, which is that's not chump change.
No, it's not chump change. But the way he has to look at it and the way it should be communicated to him by his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, should be this. Look at, all right, this is really a 2-year deal for $30 million.
That's what I said.
If they decide to keep you,
if you play your ass off, you're going to get $17.5 million out of it.
You'll get another $17.5 million for
at
another
34
year.
years old.
Right. So you'll get a $2.5 million bump if you perform at the level you believe will perform.
That's why it's on this list. It's a perfect contract.
So it's a great contract.
It's perfect
for both sides.
It's perfect because the cap's going to rise. Right. You're going to be able to handle that $17.5 million with no trouble in 3 years.
And here's the motivation for Antonio Brown to really play his arse off, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
That $17.5 million is going to be in Nevada.
That's right.
And Robert
Zero
Raiola
tax.
was coming out
Zero
and he said,
tax.
"Yeah, right. I mean, he's gonna make even more money."
Yeah,
there.
It's all good stuff. So that's why he's the player friendly award nominee number 2. Let's switch to the team, and we talked about it a little bit, but man, oh man, if you haven't been paying attention to the San Francisco 49ers over the past 2 years since this new regime came in, it is some kind of
and they had a ton of cap space.
They do,
Right.
but they are using it.
They were in Antonio Brown, weren't they?
I think so. I think more OBJ.
Yeah, that's right.
I think
yes.
they were in on the Beckham conversation for a while. They were the favorites for a while, in fact. But here's what they're doing. They're taking all this cap space. They've had it last year. They have it again this year, and they're rebuilding their whole team. But they are doing it almost as if they're afraid to do it. You know, and it's just the way that they're structuring their contracts. I get it. I think a lot of people maybe understand this, but basically any deal, even the quarterback, even Garoppolo, is a 1-year deal. Even if it looks like 6 or 4 or 3 or 2, all of that guaranteed money is in year 1. It's essentially the Steelers structure. The difference being the rule in San Francisco is we will roll guarantees from there out. So we'll pay you money up front. We'll guarantee your first year. Then if you're good to go next April 1st, that's always their date, April 1st, we'll lock in that year. And then we'll do it again after that. All the quarterbacks, even Garoppolo. Garoppolo's not guaranteed until April 1st this year.
Why is it April 1st and not the start of the league year?
It's just the way they do it. They want to get through free agency, I guess, and see what they can get. You know,
wow.
It's just the way they've always done it. I should find a better answer for that because it's been like this for a long time. So maybe I'll do some research and try to get an answer for that. But that is their date, and that is their structure.
Well, because the NFL fiscal year starts March,
second week of March generally.
Yeah, right, 13th, 14th, around there.
Yeah, so it gives them a good 3 weeks to sort of maneuver before they have to lock in their guys. Yeah, but that's how it works. Like go down the list. Quan Alexander, we mentioned 4 for 54. It's really 1 for 14. And then they can decide on it after that. Tevin Coleman, the second best running back in the free agent market, 2 for 8, but only 3 1/4 guaranteed. 1 for 3 1/4. All right, I mean, you can't beat that.
That's a great deal for the team.
You can't beat that. That's a starting inside linebacker, maybe the captain of your defense. The starting running back, who's going to complement Jerick McKinnon, who got a 1 for 7.5 last year, and is going to roll over now cheap money from here. And then they trade for D Ford, one of the premier pass rushers in the game. Gave up a couple of picks.
Can he stay on site?
Let's not go there. Let me tell you.
Well, why do you think he was traded?
Because the Chiefs decided that we are all in on offense, and we'll have a show about that. By the way, holy cow, they gutted their defense. Justin Houston, D Ford, Eric Berry. There's more. We'll get there. But D Ford signed 5 years, $85.5 million. It's 1 year, $19.75 million for one of the best pass rushers in football.
If he stayed on side, though, they would have been in the Super Bowl. I'm just going to say that.
If they win the Super Bowl, does he leave?
Does D Ford leave?
Yeah.
Sure. Money talks.
Can't do it, right? Can't pay defense anymore, right?
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to pay, well, especially, in the no, it doesn't make sense to pay defense.
Okay.
Coaches are wise to it. They get rid of the football quicker. It's the Tom Brady model, right? I mean, they lost their left tackle again. Why pay him? We don't need to pay him. They proved you don't need to pay a left tackle in New England. They proved it. Solder left, right? And they had another guy, and he goes, hey, fine, we'll get another guy in there because we don't need someone to protect Brady because he steps up and gets rid of the football in 1.7 seconds.
Last question on the 49ers, especially with D Ford, because he's the big name here, right? Like I just said.
And I'm being unfair to him, but come on, it's the fourth quarter. You didn't notice you were like...
It was awful. It was awful.
Right? I mean, it was obvious. And, why isn't the corner telling you? Why isn't your teammates telling him?
Somebody's got to tell him. Everybody's got to tell him, in fact. All right.
I mean, I get you're trying to get to the quarterback. You make a big play, but, I mean, come on. This is a fundamental...
It's like following a guy with 1 on the shot clock, right? Right?
Or at half court.
Right.
Anyhow.
Here's the point. I mentioned a little under $20 million in guarantees for D Ford.
That's a good contract for 1 year for a pass rusher.
Come on. That's not even the franchise tag. Why is he signing this deal? And I've had dozens of people ask me this on Twitter, and I don't have a good answer. Trey Flowers, speaking of Patriots, goes to the Lions. He gets double this, fully guaranteed. He gets double this. He gets $40 million fully guaranteed. He's not D Ford. He's not even close. He's got like 11 combined sacks over the past 2 years. D Ford had like 97, right?
Yeah.
Why are you signing with the San Francisco 49ers if this is the structure?
Well, maybe that's where he wanted to play.
Is that the answer?
Well, I would think, right? I mean, listen, you have to think other teams were interested. I mean, edge, you pay quarterbacks, you pay receivers, you pay edge rushers.
I guess,
right?
I mean, obviously he gets traded there, so he didn't have much wiggle room there.
Right, but he didn't have to sign anything.
Didn't have to sign.
Correct.
Didn't have to sign. Didn't have to sign 5 years either, right? Because now after this first year, it's going to be all on the Niners. Like I said, it's all in their books. Every April 1st.
Well, he's
got no leverage.
You definitely would want to see how this was presented, right?
But after
5 years, $85 million, right? This is where the actual cash comes into play. Well, yes, it's if you play the 5 years, which he's not going to play the full 5, right? I mean,
yeah, but he's young.
I know, but I'm saying, but he'll play another 5 years, but he's not going to play. You're predicting he's not going to play under that contract, correct?
I'm asking why he did it in the first place.
Or if he plays under that contract, 3 years out, he's going to be like, I should be getting paid more.
Yeah, maybe 2, maybe next year when he's looking at April 1st and his salary's not guaranteed yet.
Yeah. Well, this is the one thing this is the one thing I think players of his caliber know. And same with Antonio Brown. Someone's going to want me. Someone's going to pay me.
I think there's going to be a stink made. We're coming off this offseason that had the Khalil Mack situation. Right? The guy holds out and then gets traded for a truck.
Yes.
And then is the defensive player of the year and is making he made $41 million cash last year, right? Aaron Donald backed him up, right?
Yep.
Same thing. D Ford is this version of that. He's the 2019 version of that. He basically let Trey Flowers go and get all the money, right? That's what happened here by taking this deal. This is 1 for 19. This is a franchise tag with options.
Maybe he needed the money up front. Maybe he needed some cash strapped.
Look, I get it. He got traded there. You signed the best deal you can sign. I hate poking holes in these and seeing what it actually looks like at the end of the day.
Well, I'm sure he's listening to it right now and hates it too.
I'm not saying don't sign with the 49ers. I'm saying somebody's got to, if anybody's going to give a stink, like even Garoppolo didn't have much leverage. Who the heck was Jimmy Garoppolo before he went there, right?
That's right.
I mean, somebody offers you that, $40 million last year, which is what he made for a guy who's never played in the NFL,
you're saying yes.
You say yes, right?
Right.
But D Ford has numbers. He's got a resume. You gotta put your foot down and say, no, we got to get more than this done. And he didn't. Anyway, I'm ranting. Second team-friendly award goes to a center. Is there anything more boring than that?
Hey, I played center in high school, man.
Matt Paradis.
Great. I think you're okay. Go ahead and then
what?
Well, I was going to say I think center is an extremely valuable position.
Oh, we've talked about
in the NFL.
We've talked about it.
I mean,
you just mentioned
they don't make dummy centers.
You just
tell me that right
how
now.
Quarterbacks are pushing to get rid of the ball quicker.
Yeah,
that's about interior linemen.
Correct.
Right. If you're not even getting there on the edge anymore, it's about the only way you're stopping Tom Brady is if you're coming up the middle.
That's right.
And that's why there's nobody more important to him than his center, and that's why left and right tackles leave every year.
Hey, look at the center identifies the front seven scheme, what they're showing, what they're in. It's not just the quarterback, but the center communicates to his linemen who should block whom.
Right, the captain. Yep.
Yeah, when they're coming in. So
the smartest player, right?
Absolutely, you are. Right? If you play center, you are no dummy.
Yeah. So Matt Paradis goes from Denver to Carolina, replaces the Khalil. Right, he ends the Khalil era in Carolina.
Yep.
Both of them are gone now. And financially, it was a good move to do that, by the way. But he gets a nice deal here for Carolina. It's under $30 million for 3 years, only $10 million guaranteed at signing, so it's a 1 for 10 essentially. I'm hearing he's got a foot problem, and that's why Denver was a little bit timid to give him a deal, because obviously it's a C.J. Mosley situation. Why do you let a guy like this go if he's a bona fide starting center? So maybe there's some health issues, but if not, if he's locked in for the next 3, 4, 5 years as Carolina center, it's going to be a nice start financially for them.
Right. So this is similar. I mean, Mitch Morse signed a deal with Buffalo.
Mitch Morse got some money though. Mitch Morse got a pretty good amount of money. He actually got about $20 million fully guaranteed at signing. So he doubled Paradis's fully guarantees, but he's also 3 years younger. So Buffalo sees a long term.
Why did the Chiefs let him walk?
They have a guy, Austin Reiter, who filled in when Morse got a little banged up and showed he could do the job. So they didn't need to go and spend $40 million on a center when they had a guy under team control for a couple of years still. So made a lot of sense for Buffalo to do it. Made a lot of sense for Kansas City to move on.
All right, best of
the best of both worlds.
Where the team won, the player won. I mean, that's how it's supposed to work, right?
Right, fair on both sides. It's hard to look at any other contract but Earl Thomas's this year. Guy waited forever. All these safeties got ridiculous money. It was like the year of the safety for the first 3-4 days there. And then the question became, what's Earl Thomas going to do? Is he going to break the bank again? He didn't in terms of the average salary. But, man, he went to the right team, didn't he? Doesn't this feel perfect? Baltimore Ravens and Earl Thomas?
Sure.
I know Dallas was in. They were dead broke. I know the Chiefs were
Thomas
in.
was
Dead broke.
He didn't go to camp, right?
He held out.
Yeah. And this was the worst case scenario because they broke his leg.
Broke his leg. After he was phenomenal.
He was playing great.
He held out, didn't have a practice, played 8 weeks of just monster football, breaks his leg, flips off his coach on the way off in the cart.
In Dallas, right? Wasn't it in Dallas?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Houston or Dallas, one of the two. Might have been Houston.
Could have been Houston. It was in Texas. How about that?
Yeah, because the narrative was he'll be back, right?
Correct.
Well, he's in Baltimore, which is just, he replaces Eric Weddle. Two-time broken leg, right? Broke his leg twice over the past few years. He gets $32 million fully guaranteed at signing. 2 years, $32 million, $16 a year.
Well, the doctors obviously believe it's going to heal, right? They don't do this without medical, and they believe it's going to be the deal, and they sign him, which, giving him that money, meant Mosley too, right?
Yeah, that's what they dumped a bunch of defensive players, and they really haven't filled in too many of those spots yet. I assume they're thinking draft, which is smart. We've talked about how it's a defensive-heavy draft, so if you want to get cheaper, that's the way to do it. But this just makes a heck of a lot of sense for the Baltimore Ravens to bring in a guy like this. And
they're remaking their team at quarterback too. So
and this is a nice place to start defensively, right? Earl Thomas.
Get a quarterback on your defense.
He's going to take away all the other issues, right, inside that locker room. He's just going to be the voice of all those issues. It's just his team now. And I like that because, Lamar Jackson's probably not ready to have that kind of control.
No.
I wouldn't think.
I
like the Mark Ingram signing there a lot, too, for that. But
that was a great signing.
Nice deal. Good deal. Didn't make our list, but it's a good deal.
What about Le'Veon Bell?
Got to get him in.
Do you have this on the list as the best of both worlds here?
It is. And that might surprise some people, but look at the initial request from Le'Veon Bell at $50 million guaranteed was never going to happen. We shot that down in a couple of seconds on this show, and, it was pretty laughable elsewhere, but at the end of the day, I think what surprises me the most, and I don't know if you've sort of followed this, Kevin, there just weren't a lot of teams in on Le'Veon Bell. There just weren't.
Well,
even if they were in, they weren't making offers, right? They were interested, but what do you think?
Well, I think teams are a little shy to spend 15
money on a running back?
Well, 15 million on a running back because you can get a good one for $8 million. Or less.
Mark Ingram got $5.
Let's go back to the 49ers, right? Tevin Coleman.
Yeah, $3.5
million. So why am I going to spend?
That's the gap, by the way. Le'Veon gets essentially $14 a year, and the second best running back on the market got $3.5 this year.
Right.
That's the gap. So
the Jets are getting a great player.
That's why he's on this list.
They're getting a great player.
They need playmakers maybe more than any team in the league, and this guy does it all. This guy's he's a 3-down back. He's going to come out of the backfield and catch a ton of passes. He does it all for them.
Do you think if he played last year under the contract, he'd still get this contract, or do you think he'd been franchised with the Steelers?
That's a really good question.
Because
a third franchise tag would be ridiculous. They can never do it.
But so you can look at he's getting $27 million guaranteed at signing.
That's essentially what the third franchise tag would have been.
Okay. But the reason I bring it up is so you sat out a year and you missed out on
$14.5.
$14.5. That's $14.5 you're never getting back.
Guess what he's making this year?
$14.5.
Right on the dot.
I know, but he would have made. But he missed a year of earning $14.5.
I was actually making a little bit humor with that. I think it's pretty good trolling by the Jets.
Yeah. But even still, I'm just saying you didn't play for a year. You missed out on a prime earning year of $14.5 million. Never getting that back.
No.
You could argue, he'll play another year because of that. Well, we'll see. We'll see if he can be Peterson and continue to play and play well at the age. But even he didn't get $4 million a year.
Peterson?
Adrian Peterson was $8 million a year.
Not even. Yeah.
I thought it was an $8 million contract.
It's incentive. It's really incentive based. It's going to be way less. So that's the kind of guy he is. But he's over 30. So the writing's on the wall for Le'Veon Bell. Look, he's 27. They're going to get 2 years, $35 million out of this, and then their options from there. It's good cash flow. That's why it's on this list. It's good. It's not $50 million, but it is 27 now. It's going to be 35 eventually.
So it's just clear he wanted guaranteed money. He wasn't going to get that from the Steelers.
Just like Antonio Brown. Yeah. You got to guarantee me 2 years. That's what the franchise tag didn't do, right? Didn't guarantee him 2 years.
All right, a couple other things here on football. What's going on with Josh Rosen? A good thing Paul's not here to. I can't wait till this happens. By the way,
I don't even want to put any rumors out there. I'm just reading what I'm reading, and obviously Arizona's doing their due diligence with Kyler Murray,
sure,
as they should.
Right,
they're the number one pick. They've got to sell all the angles, right? They've got to sell them all, and you want to know about this guy. So I get it. They're doing their diligence. It's just as they do that, we've got to assess Josh Rosen. You have to, and there's teams that could use him, and not this year. That's done. We'll get to that with Bridgewater. But there's teams that need a quarterback.
Sure.
The Giants, the Patriots, the Chargers, the
Dolphins. There's Fitz Magic, but
yeah, those are all teams who
not a long-term solution.
They have a 2-year plan for their current guy, and they're going to need to backfill it. And that's what Josh Rosen can do on a really cheap rookie contract. 3 years, $6 million. Just seems like the Patriots are ready to pounce on this, right?
They need to do something because avocado toast doesn't make you live forever.
But wouldn't that just be the perfect way for the Patriots to rebuild, right?
Probably.
Like, we don't even need to go and draft somebody. We don't even need to go spend a first-round pick. We're not like other teams. We're going to do it this way.
Come learn from
Tom.
We're
going to find the first team to trade their top 10, top 15 quarterback a year later, and we're going to poach that guy and turn him into the next Tom Brady. It just seems like it's annoyingly what's going to happen.
Teddy Bridgewater, surprised.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring this up with you.
Yeah.
Is that surprising to you?
Yes,
I mean,
is.
Knowing Miami is rebuilding and they're ripping it down, did they not want him? Is he not the guy? He's clearly not the guy.
Not their guy, no.
So he's not. Is he not anybody's guy then? Is he done as a starting quarterback? I mean, what if Breeze plays 3 more years?
It's quite possible.
I guess it is.
There's obviously doubts about him, or teams would have pounced on him. I mean, why wouldn't Denver look at him, right?
Yeah,
instead of a trade.
There were a few teams. Jacksonville, there were
Washington
teams.
Redskins
for sure. At least on a 1-year flyer, just to see what you got, right?
Absolutely. I don't know. It's kind of puzzling to me.
I agree. So maybe it's an injury thing. Maybe it's just maybe he's kind of spooked. Right?
Maybe
don't you think that could be possible that he can't play to the capacity that he did before because of this injury?
Or maybe he wants to be there behind Drew Brees and feels like
that's the feel good story.
They've told him like, hey, you're going to take this over, stay here, do this, and you'll be rewarded.
Sort of the Patrick Mahomes thing, right?
Yeah. Maybe.
I kind of hope that's what it is.
I think he's a good talent. Yeah, you hope the injury. Sam Bradford. To me, right? I mean, Sam Bradford, all the injuries, right? Clearly not the player he was projected to be. Not that Bridgewater wasn't the number 1 overall pick coming out, but it's a great story. He had some great moments for the Vikings and had that horrific injury. And, even they moved on from him. So, I don't know.
Jury's out.
I don't know what's going on
Just something to watch over the next year.
I was in Jacksonville when Foles signed. Are they just jacked up about Let's
finish on this because the point I want to bring up is, I mean, it was impossible to evaluate Nick Foles because his stats are like all sporadic, right? It's like week 3 and then the Super Bowl, right, for 2 years. So you can't really put a statistical production evaluation on Nick Foles because for this first 5 seasons, he was a dumpster fire. I mean, you know what I mean? So you're not going to use those stats.
I don't know. Because clearly he was pretty good with Jeremy Maclin when they were together in Philly, not in Kansas City, but in Philly. Okay. I had them in fantasy.
Actually,
they were
right.
great.
Not in Kansas City.
Not in Kansas City.
That was the window.
They were both together there.
That was the window in Kansas City where there were no wide receiver touchdowns for 7 years. You remember that?
Yes.
Do you remember that stat?
They're all tight ends. Yes.
It was crazy.
Yep.
Anyway, so Nick Foles now he gets the chance to be a starter, but he gets $88 million and $50 million guaranteed
in Florida.
But here's the thing. We just talked about these quarterback needs, right? Washington wasn't going to sign him. They've invested a ton in Alex Smith, who may never play. Miami clearly is rebuilding through the draft. That's obviously their plan.
Yep.
So they were out on Foles. Who else was bidding for Nick Foles? Why did Jacksonville have to go this far with Nick Foles' contract? Is my question. It seems like this is what happened. He walked in the door. His agent walked in the door and said, "All right, here's Exhibit A, which is Derek Carr's contract," and said, "I'm at least better than him,
right?
Because I've won a Super Bowl and I've almost got to the next one, right? So our contract starts right here, and we're not going any lower."
He had to buy out some of it time, didn't he?
$2 million.
Well, still,
come on,
$2 million. That's a beachfront home, my friend.
Can I be devil's advocate here and just say I'm not a Nick Foles? I'm not a Nick Foles.
You're not
guy?
a believer.
And even to this degree.
Well, listen, I know why, because you could say it's Jeff Hostetler. To go back, there's been backup quarterbacks who've won Super Bowls with great teams around them.
I guess here's my point. I was a big Nick Foles guy when Nick Foles was worth $5 million a year. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh, right. Yeah, the value was there.
When Case Keenum was $5 million a year, I loved Case Keenum, but I don't know that they project to $25 million.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean? And not even as a player, not even from a football standpoint. Is that really the best financial move from the team standpoint? Or shouldn't you just rebuild? Shouldn't you have those guys at $5 million and then draft somebody and then just be ready to go with the next cheap guy?
Well, they believe they're close, though.
But Jacksonville can't. They can't. They have no wide receivers. They just gutted their defense in order to be able to afford Nick Foles and to be able to afford to buy out Blake Bortles.
But it's all there. It's all there at the quarterback position, and they don't have
But
one.
Nick Foles is not a guy that can carry a team.
Well, he's going to have to be.
He needs weapons.
He's going to have to be to justify
They're going to run Leonard Fournette until he's dead. Aren't they?
Probably.
That's the offense.
Right? Yeah.
I'm skeptical on. I get it. That
You're
was the
right.
only team that needed him.
I think you're right to be skeptical because when you talk about that kind of money for a quarterback, you're saying, okay, I'm going to pick a quarterback right now to start my team with. He's not even in the. Is he in the top 10? No.
Like if you're acquiring him at $10 million or even if the Josh McCown money, right? Fine,
sure,
because then it's a bridge. But this is legitimate starter money contract for a guy who's maybe.
But this happens all the time. This happens all the time.
It just smells like an Eli Manning kind of thing. Like, but he's been to Super Bowls.
I'm going to say
he's been on the field during a Super Bowl.
I'll say Matt Castle, Matt Flynn. Right, this stuff happens all the time, right?
It does. I just think we're a lot smarter now. Don't you think? Aren't people a lot smarter now?
Well, come on. We're talking about Tom Coughlin runs the football there. This guy's won 2 Super Bowls.
Eli's boy.
With the Giants, right? That's why everybody's trying to get Eli Manning down there to Jacksonville. They didn't. They went with this guy.
We need to cut the Giants part out of this. We're going to make it its own show.
Okay.
We'll go off on the Giants.
All right. We're going to talk some baseball coming up, and we're going to do that with our friend, the sports tax man, on the Mike Trout contract, Robert Raiola.
Yeah, let's talk about how much damage this is going to do from a tax standpoint when we're going to bring in Robert here and break down some of these numbers.
Yeah, Robert. So Mike Trout, just a massive amount of money. Breaking down the tax numbers in California, they had to pay him over $400 million, didn't they, just to make up for what he get elsewhere?
There was a lot of rumor that if he was on the open market, he could have gotten $4 or $450. I think clearly Anaheim wanted to make a statement and go out there and not have to worry about the next 2 years. And if he would have said he didn't want to say that, they would have 2 years to try to trade him and try to time that right. So they decided not to do that. The issue is we are not sure where he makes his he's a resident of. If he's a resident of California, as we discussed, the top rate in the state of California is 13.3%. So if you take the 13.3% for California taxes and the 37% federal, he would pay over 50% before you even began to look at the payroll taxes. So in a nutshell, on $430 million, the numbers are so large, $430 million, he'd probably net $214,000 after federal and state taxes, but not after payroll taxes. If you include the payroll tax, it'd be even lower. But it's kind of shocking that he would lose that much money in taxes. The other interesting aspect is he is rumored to have a large plot of land in New Jersey and is from very southern New Jersey area. If he was a resident of New Jersey, Governor Murphy just raised the top tax rate from 8.97 to 10.75 if you have income above $5 million, which he clearly will be for the next dozen years, well above $5 million. He's also thinking about now raising it above $1 million to 10.75 instead of where it is now, which is lower rate. So even the people from Jersey would find this hard to believe. Jersey's taxes are significantly lower than California, but who knows where his resident is? Or the third option is maybe he's a resident of a non-tax state or somewhere else. So, but bottom line in California, $430 million bang after taxes, no more than he'd probably net about $214 million.
Man. It's just robbery. All right, let's just. No one's seen kind of the structure here because it's really not an official contract. But let's assume there's a sizable signing bonus on this one, Robert. What does that do in terms of the taxes?
Right. That's a great point because if he gets a signing bonus, and that would be a true indicator to me as to what he might be resident of someplace else. If he gets a large signing bonus, that would mean he would not pay tax if he wasn't a California resident. First of all, let me take a step back. If you receive a signing bonus, wherever you're a resident of, you had to pay tax on that. So if he's not a California resident, it might be a good strategy to get a large signing bonus so he can pull out of California. Even again, the top rate in Jersey is 10.75, so 13.3 is about 2.5% or whatever it is. It'd be indicated to me that he indeed was not a California resident. I can't see. It's not like a football player where he's spending 6 days a week, 7 days a week on a home game, 5 days a week on a road game in California. Let's not forget, he's also got Arizona during spring training, so that's 45 days where he's got no time in California. So, and then during the season, the 6-month, 187-day season, he's got half his time on the road, half at home. Yes, there's some other games against California teams, but I don't think he'd have any problem if he wanted to make his home elsewhere. I just don't know if that's Jersey or that's some other, third option.
By the way, you can check out all of these tax rates for the states. Robert has this great calendar at Sports Taxman, and of course, Robert from PKF O'Connor Davies. They do great work. It's a great map. If I said calendar, right? It's a map.
He's got one. He's got one for all the sports too, where he breaks down, all the states that have a sports team for that particular sport. So NBA, NFL, he does this with all the sports, and it shows you the rates for where your team sort of lives. It's really a nice little reference point to look at when you're dealing with these kind of contracts. I had a question about just sort of the process here, right? Like we've had the Machado, the Harper, the Trout. We've had Aaron Rodgers in the past that we've discussed with these deals. Here's my question, because I know you've worked with athletes before. Maybe you're doing that currently now, Robert. Do the athletes understand, care about these numbers? Like, are they made privy to this kind of information? Do they care?
Well, I think when you approach free agency, there's probably a list of 10 items that come into play. Let's take baseball for now. Do you like the climate that you're playing in? Do you like the environment of the team, the culture of the team? Is the team built to win? Do you want to just solely sign for the most money? I think if Trout was solely solely about the money, he would have waited till he got on the open market, and the Yankees could have jumped in there. Maybe the Red Sox could have jumped in there. You would think the Dodgers would have been in there, and obviously the Phillies would have been in there for sure. So I don't think he was about that. I don't know if you guys have heard, but I haven't heard anything about having an out in the deal or not having any outs, and you would think that he'd want to stay there his whole career, but you never know. So some of the players do know about it and are conscious of it, but when you go through the free agency period, you absolutely have to consider the fact that the best gross deal may not be the best net deal. In other words, if he's a Florida resident, he's going to pay significantly less tax than in California. And one way to do that is, by Michael pointed out, about the signing bonus. Yeah. If he is indeed a Florida resident or a New Jersey resident, if he did get a signing bonus, you would pay no California tax as long as the right language in the contract, and I assume that it would be. So big money, big dollars, and it's shocking to see how much. And it's the same thing with the lottery, right? Talk about the big, mega millions or whatever, now approaching another large number. And it's just shocking to see when people get confused about, when you get your check, they're only taking out 24% federal taxes. That's all they take out, but you're still responsible to get up to 37%. So it's not what you make, it's what you keep. And in the lottery and in baseball and these big contracts, is a lot of money. The other interesting thing, Mike, I don't know if you saw this, was Jason Stark tweeted out that the combined new deals would be Arenado, Trout, Machado, and Harper. The combined new deals were over 1.3 or 1.4 billion. That's more than Tampa Bay has doled out in their history in contracts.
I did see this.
Take that into account. Let me repeat that. Yeah. That's incredible. Yeah. Tampa Bay has been in existence, 15, 20 years, and they haven't paid that much more to that amount in salary. It's just shocking that these guys have made more than that.
That is an astonishing amount of
the
money.
rich are getting richer in that sport for sure.
Yeah, you know what I was thinking about, though, with these 2.5%. It's like doing a government budget. What's another 2.5% on top of a couple billion here, right?
But if you're the player, it's a lot of money.
Oh, sure. No, believe me, no question about it. But at some point, right? I mean, it's got to, it's like, okay, well, you're going to pay taxes somewhere. And if you enjoy playing here, and there are other, in Anaheim, near Los Angeles,
that's why I asked,
right?
do they care? That's why I asked, how much does the tax actually bear the weight on the contract decision? Because clearly he wants to be there. By the way, Robert, no opt-outs, full no trade clause. So he wants to be there. He wants to be there.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I mean, no trade clause.
Full no trade clause. He has all the power, and he's got no opt-outs, which means
he does.
If he's going to go, it's because he wants to, and it sounds like he doesn't want to. Yeah.
Right. So, and Harper didn't get a no trade clause, correct?
Harper got a no trade clause. He did.
Oh, he did get it.
He did, yeah. Okay. So it's a similar deal. It's just a lot more money.
Okay.
Wow.
It is a lot more money. So Harper and Boras had their 15 minutes of fame as the highest paid contract.
17 days.
17 minutes. Yeah.
Next up after the contract expires, Aaron Judge, right? I mean,
no, Mookie Betts.
Well, Mookie Betts, that's right.
It's going to be $400 million in Boston, so we'll have to talk about Robert with that.
Wow, unbelievable. All right, Robert, thanks so much for your time again. We appreciate it, and what a contract for Mike Trout.
Beautiful thing, a lot of money. But it's not what you make; it's what you keep, and he's losing a lot of money in taxes. And we also don't know, in fairness to him, you would think that somewhere, being that he's been out with the Angels so long now, you would think that he sort of gotten used to California taxes. But he may well be a New Jersey resident. How often do we see him on Fox on a Sunday afternoon, sit in front row after the Eagles player scores a touchdown? He runs over to the front row, and who does he hand the football to? Mike Trout.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he's spending a lot of time in New Jersey in the off season. Pennsylvania would be even better. Pennsylvania's tax rate is lower, but who knows where he makes his off season home? And I'm not surprised that it hasn't gotten out there, because Trout's a real private, quiet guy. And how many people really see him play on the West Coast? If he was on the East Coast, forget it, it'd be blown up even more.
Robert, one last question before we let you go here, and it's sort of putting you on the spot. What would you change in terms of sports taxes? We've got the jock tax. We've got a lot of things. And in a lot of ways, the jock tax alleviates some of these percentages, right? Because of, you're able to play in areas that don't have the tax ramifications that California does. But what could be changed? What could make it a better process for the athletes?
Sure. I think the better process would be to make the salary cap in the sports. Baseball doesn't have a salary cap, but make it on an after-tax basis. Right now in football, if you're the Dallas Cowboys and you're recruiting Randall Cobb, or you're recruiting Eric Berry, you're flaunting the fact that Texas doesn't have a state income tax. So the Cowboys, the Seahawks, the Dolphins, Tennessee Titans, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they all have a big advantage over the teams like the Bills. Now, the interesting thing in football, and we saw this a little bit last week, Mike, and you and I talked about this offline, was that a lot of these Raiders deals, you're seeing larger money in year 2 than in year 1, because that they all know that in 2019, it's for certain the team is playing in California. In 2020, it looks like they're going to play in Vegas, and I would bet you opening day they're not going to miss that, September of 2020. However, so in these contracts, when these guys sign, you're going to want to load up the guaranteed money into year 2 than in year 1. However, you better be careful, because what's happening is, you don't know in the OTAs next year, like at this time next year, where will the Raiders be planning OTAs? Will that be in Vegas? Will that be California? Will that be somewhere else? Who knows? So you might have to push the money back to later in the year. But back to your original question, what I would do is in basketball, and I approached a team, an NBA team has approached me about this and has talked to the league about it, making the cap on an after-tax basis so it's equal to each team.
So it would level the playing field.
Level the playing field. That's exactly right.
I like it.
And I think it could happen in basketball, but before other sports.
Well, they're ahead of everything, so I agree with you there.
Yeah. Look at that gambling money in, it'll be boom. They'll take care of it.
Yeah, they're doing everything right.
All right, Robert, thanks again for your time. We appreciate your expertise. Follow Robert at Sports Taxman.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
Always great to have Robert's perspective on tax things. Mike, just what's your takeaway on this? I mean, it's a surprise, this Trout contract, right?
It's a surprise. Yeah, I was for sure thinking he's going to wait at least one more year and sort of let the trade rumors at least evolve a little bit, especially after Bryce Harper basically perjured himself, and
right.
said, next man up, come on over. But look at this is a foot down. This is a foot down stance by the Angels and by him. This basically, and it's in similar vein to the Bryce Harper contract, right? I don't want to deal with this for the next 12 years. I love playing here. It sucks we're not winning as much as I want to be, but you don't say no to $430, right?
Right.
Somebody offers you $430 to be a garbage collector. You be a garbage collector for $430 million. You know what I mean? Like, that's just what you do. He's doing what he loves. He's in a place he clearly loves to be and loves to play baseball, and he got a ton of money offered to him. So you just don't say no to that. Here's the thing, and I love doing this part of it because it's objective, but it also puts some merit to it. There's been a lot of talk about how he's underpaid, right? Like this deal is going to be nothing in 3 years. And of course it is, because the luxury tax goes up, salaries go up, baseball's worth $10 billion now, it's going to be worth 20 in 5 years, right? But we actually put some merit to it. We love following Fangraphs, great website that sort of tracks stats and analytics and projections and things like that. They've got a metric that's basically that uses the WAR stat, and they put a dollar value to it, right? So right now it stands at about $8 million per one WAR. Well, Trout's WAR, cumulative WAR over 7 years, is like 66, right? And then if we project that out over the next 10, 12 years, so let's say over 21 to 30. Which
Someone may not know what WAR is.
Yeah, WAR is wins above replacement. Good call. Wins above replacement. It's essentially how valuable is this player to the Angels' ability to win baseball games, right? Statistically speaking. So his WAR is historic. It's like Babe Ruth and Hank Aaron and Mike Trout. That's the conversation we're having here with WAR, okay? It's historic. And if we adjust for inflation and we start at $8 million and we go over the next 12 years, like Fangraphs has done, basically, mathematically, he'll be worth, if he declines and all that stuff, right? He'll be worth around $517 million over the next 12 years.
So he's already underpaid, is what you're saying.
So if he gets the $360 million extension, he's short about $150 million. Based on some quick analytics. That's all it is. If he's above average in 5 years, he'll be way past this.
Right.
He'll be closer to $600 million. So he's never going to hold up,
Right.
And we've talked about it. Unless you sign 2-year deals,
correct,
and continue to reassess your value, you're always going to be underpaid. So this is a foot down. I just want to make my money and play baseball, and the rest can go away. I'm on the West Coast hiding away from the East Coasters, right?
Right.
It's all of that. He's happy. He doesn't give a damn about the semantics.
That goes a long way too, right? I mean, it kind of a lower, tries to keep a low profile, and he pretty much does. And this will just keep lingering. And after every, he wants to play ball. He doesn't want to talk about.
And
this.
he's got the trade control. So if the wheels fall off in Anaheim and he really wants to go win some baseball games, he'll pick a team and get traded there.
So he'll be a Yankee in 6 years. All right, kidding. All right. So, I hope you enjoyed today's edition of the Spot Track Podcast, presented by Morgan Stanley Global Sports and Entertainment, empowering professional athletes and entertainers with the knowledge they need to make informed decisions about their finances and wealth.
Mike Trout needs some help.
Mike Trout.
Mike Trout needs some help.
Give our friends at Morgan Stanley a call or visit morganstanley.com/GSE. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, LLC, member SIPC. For Mike Giannetti, I'm Kevin Sylvester. Thanks for listening to the SpotTrack.com podcast.